pillows just to cancel out the noise. Cause this a song for all the people feeling like they can't exist. They feeling like they banished to a land that's full of stones and sticks. Words that hold a purpose just to hurt us in the end. But smile and we laugh, we learn so fast to play pretend that all the shit we go through in the journey and the race, it got me nervous, got me hurting. I'm so sick of saving face. I ain't shutting up for no one. I'ma make sure that I'm heard. So when I make it to my people and they asking what the word I'm saying, no more front and know just who I wanna be. I got places left to go and I got people left to see. Oh yeah, got a plan, I know just who I wanna be. No more begging for some friends, I got the fam to follow me. Goddamn man, I know just who I wanna be. No escaping who I am and no more fake apologies. So I hope you understand, I know just who I wanna be. I'ma say it to the death of me, you'll never get the best of me. I've been feeling okay, hope you getting out the slump. Know the sun is gonna rise again, I hope you feeling up to it. Fuck the bogus shit and all the notices and bills. Light a candle, light a blunt and take a second just to chill. Won't you hear just what I'm saying? Ain't no time for all the laying down. The man be trying to kill us, so we gotta get it straightened out. Lou and Kai about to make a map up for the mountain. Shoulda never let it share that fucking fountain. Now we counting the days that we have left until we getting what we owed. If it's not enough for us, then we gon' make it very known. Why the place we callin' home just make us feel like we are lost? Well, pricing supremacy, just tell me what the cost. Cause know that money talks, but we been shouting to the void. Don't you fucking call me nigga, don't you fucking call me boy. Man, I'm only getting worse, I damn near figured out my worst. So when I get back to my people and they asking what the word I'm saying, no more front and know just who I wanna be. I got places left to go and I got people left to see. Oh yeah, got a plan, I know just who I wanna be. No more begging for some friends, I got the fam to follow me. Goddamn man, I know just who I wanna be. No escaping who I am and no more fake apologies. So I hope you understand, I know just who I wanna be. I'ma say it to the death of me, you'll never get the best of me.
Welcome, everybody. I'm going to turn it over to our interpretation team.
Good afternoon, everyone. William speaking. I'm going to be one of the Spanish interpreters for today. This meeting will be in English and Spanish with simultaneous interpretation. To listen to the interpretation, if you're using a computer, press the globe at the bottom of your screen and select your desired language. If you're using a smartphone app, look at the three dots that say more, click on it and choose a language, whether Spanish or English interpretation. And afterwards, click Done. Esta reunión será en inglés y en español y habrá interpretación simultánea. Para utilizar la función de interpretación en la computadora, presione el globo en la parte inferior de la pantalla y elija su idioma. Si está utilizando un teléfono inteligente o un smartphone, presione más los 3 puntos suspensivos que va a ver y presione interpretación de idiomas y escoja su lenguaje preferido de predilección. No olvides presionar listo para que así se active. Thank you. Jill can assign me to the interpretation. Thank you so much.
All right, welcome everyone. My name is Jennifer Crosslin. I'd like to welcome all of you to the April SMA General Assembly call. I am a governance council member with the SMA and a regional organizer with Gulf Coast Center for Law and Policy. I'm based in Mississippi on the Gulf Coast, on the land of the Choctaw. I use she, her pronouns, and I will be one of your tech supports today for this evening, along with Annie and Ayana. So if you have any questions or trouble engaging on this call, feel free to connect with myself via chat, and we'll get started here with a few logistics. So first of all, the call is being recorded. All the recordings will be emailed to you. And so the recording will be emailed to anyone who's been registered for the call. Please mute your phone or computer if you're not talking so that we can reduce any sound interference. And then also we want to be mindful of your video. If you can, turn your video on to be present and engaged together. It really help us connect in this virtual space. And then finally, if you would like to tweet or post about this call, use the hashtag Southern People's Power in your post. I'm going to now pass it over. Oh, let me actually invite you all to now introduce yourselves in the chat, your name, your pronouns, and what part of the South you're joining us from. Pass it to Ariana to take us through the rest of the agenda.
Thank you, Jennifer, and welcome everyone today to our general membership call. We are very excited to have you. I want to take a moment and just let everybody settle into the space to get grounded, take some deep breaths, stretch our body, and just take time to be mindful. So if you are seated, if you're able to stand, however you feel comfortable, just stand up, take a minute, and just shake, stretch your body, move around about. I know some of you might be just have got off work. I know we might have been today. We do a lot of Zoom calls, so just take a moment now to stretch your body, shake all that excess off. Take a moment to take a deep breath. Get out any excess energy. Once you've done that, go ahead and ground your feet into the ground. Settle. Start to feel your breath. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes or leave them open. So start to take deep breath in. You want to stretch your arms out and above your head. And then exhale and bring your arms back down to your side. And if you do that again, take a deep breath in, stretch your arms up above your head, twinkle your fingers. Exhale, bring your arms back down to your side. Now we know it's the end of the month, and so we want to take some time here, continue to breathe, and start to just reflect on the past month. Think about things that you're grateful for, what you want to make memory. And just take time as you're breathing, and sit in that. And also at the end of the month, you have a full moon coming up. So take some time to think about things that you may want to release. Habits, practices, things that did not go well. Continue to just feel your breathing. And lastly, let's set some intentions as we move into the new month. We're releasing, we're reflecting. Now let's set some intentions about how we want to go and how we want to be as we move forward. Just continue to take deep breaths as you set that intention and let that energy just flow through your body as you breathe. Visualize yourself, see that intention, visualize it in your heart. Feel what it feels like to manifest that. Continue to just take deep breaths in and take deep breaths out. And as we wind down, you can open your eyes, start to bring some feeling back to your body. Hopefully now you are settled, you feel peaceful, you're mindful. And now I will pass it over to Denzel, who's going to get us started for tonight.
Peace, everybody. Hope y'all are feeling grounded. Thank you, Ariana, for the grounding. My name is Denzel Caldwell. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am with the Highlander Research and Education Center based in Newmarket, Tennessee, which is the land of the Cherokee. And I will be introducing tonight's guest speakers. The focus of our call this evening is to highlight and uplift the voices and struggles of youth on the front lines. We have noticed a myriad of attacks from legislators and policy shapers and law enforcement that have a particular and pronounced impact on our youth. Young people who are out leading the charge in fights and protests across the front lines to defend and protect our collective rights. We have invited a few organizers here today to talk about what they're experiencing and witnessing on the ground to help us all learn more about these issues and how we can support and defend our young people. So now let's introduce our guest. Camille Bennett, founder, executive director of Project Say Something, based in Florence, Alabama, anti-protest bills. Courtney Rourke, Alabama Policy and Movement Building Director with Urge Alabama, based in Alabama, working on anti-trans legislation. FJ, co-coordinator with the Stay Project, based in West Virginia, Stay Tour. Jules Kessler, co-coordinator with the Stay Project in Pittsburgh, Stay Tour. Makai Davis, co-coordinator with the Stay Project based in Big Stone Gap, Virginia, Stay Tour. Samantha Blakely with Black Feminist Future based in Atlanta, Bring Brittany Back / Miss Me with a Misogynoir. And lastly, Shaylin Clark, sex ed coordinator and Stay member based in Richmond, Kentucky, focusing on sex ed. If you have any questions during the presentations, please type them in the chat and we will try to cover a couple at the end. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Camille.
Hey, y'all. My name is Camille Bennett. I'm the founder and executive director of Project Say Something. And I just want to say really quickly that I think one of the first retreats I ever went to was SMA. The Southern Movement Assembly, and it was amazing. It was probably 8 years ago, so I'm really honored to be on this call with you today. And I want to just shout out, big disclaimer, I'm not a youth. I'm old. I'm 44. So I don't know. Hopefully my message is well received just the same. Project Say Something, we have evolved over time, really. We've been doing this work since 2014, but today we are a issues-based advocacy org, and we base all of our issues around Black folks. We add historical context to every issue that we touch. But let's talk about anti-protest legislation. So when it hit Alabama last year, we were kind of scrambling as organizers, trying to figure Black organizers, because a lot of the language in the bill really targeted us. Like, we could literally see ourselves and what we did in 2020 in that legislation. So as Black organizers, we were scrambling around just trying to figure out how to kill it. And we protested, and we called a public hearing, and we lifted our voices as loud as we could with no funding. Actually, a white-led group got the funding. That happens a lot in Alabama with Black issues, right? White people capitalize and exploit Black people and get funding for our work. That happened last year. But we killed the bill. And then this year, we actually did get funding. So our strategy was, we were on the outside and we were on the inside. We were lobbying. I personally was lobbying on the inside, and then we had the protesters on the outside. What was interesting about what happened is, it just so happened we were being filmed in a documentary. So we had like eight cameramen behind us at all times. So when we hit the Senate floor, Republicans were like, it looked bigger than we really were. Like, and they were like, just go away. If you all will go away, be quiet, which is really against any activist, like good conscience. Like, who's gonna listen to a senator? But anyway, Republican senator. But like, go away, be quiet. If y'all be quiet, just don't make this national, we will kill this bill. And we just kind of took a chance because Alabama was doing so much. We were just like, let's just take a chance. And we had other stuff to focus on anyway. We had the CRT stuff. We had the anti-trans. I mean, monument bills. They threw the book at us. So we were like, it's not gonna hurt us just to be quiet. We were, and they killed it. They killed it again. They'll probably come back next year, but that's one way we fight for the ability to protest. Project Say Something did the first protest of its kind in our region. So we did sustained protests for like 29 weeks, 5 days a week around a Confederate monument. The police broke the law. So it took us a year and a half, but we're now suing our police department in federal court, right? The ACLU, Lawyers Guild, and Duke Law Clinic, they all came together. I didn't, who wants to be bothered with a lawsuit? We didn't. But it has to be done because they broke the law and they were doing everything they could to intimidate us and silence us. So we work on around protesting in general. And again, people thought like when we filed this in federal courts, because it made national and international news, they were like, oh, y'all about to blow up, y'all getting rich. We don't get a dime. We don't get no money. It's for it. We do it for the right, for young people to have the right to protest, so that they don't violate your First Amendment rights and get you on noise ordinances and all kind of crazy stuff like that. The kind of attacks we experienced here in North Alabama were vicious. And when I say vicious, I mean the KKK showed up in full regalia, right? That happened with the hoods and everything. Had to face that. As one of the only, we were at a pride event. They thought it was about monuments and they showed up. We have strong concentration of white nationalism up here. So David Duke's best friend, or his comrade, Michael Hill, who's the head of the Neo-Confederate movement, League of the South, I saw him in Publix in November. The KKK used to be headquartered here in our area for 10 years. So with that, we had death threat after death threat after death threat, physical attack. Somebody tried to run me over by a motorcycle with 2 children. Just it got insane. And hate mail and people following us around. I mean, things you see on TV that don't seem real happen to us. Let me see how we responded to the attacks. One way, federal lawsuit, yo, cheese. Now you're on camera. Now Florence, Alabama looks a mess, and we tried to warn you, but you're making national news, and we're getting the police department, and ACLU only takes cases usually that they can win, right? So that's one way. Social media. While we were experiencing this resistance, you had community members coming out the woodwork, like lawmakers, nurses, saying racist things. So what we would do is take like screenshot, like any of y'all would do, and say like, cheese, you're a nurse and you're racist, or take it to their employer and get them, white supremacy has no place in this country, right? We unseated our local mayor. We made a movie of him called, his name was Steve Holt. We called it White Fragility by Steve Holt, and like put him on black. The man got unseated. He was saying awful things about black people. And then national media, that's a strategy that was used in the civil rights. Every time we could, we got those national cameras. Because Alabama didn't care about itself, but other places in the country care about what they do to us here. And then we lobbied. We went inside to kill the bills, which was a huge undertaking. I never thought I would be like actually talking and negotiating with Republicans, but you do what you got to do to do what you can. And I'm out of time, so I didn't even get to finish. I'm kind of wordy. Love young people. They they lead our movement. That's all. Okay.
Thank you, Camille. We appreciate you. If you want to drop your information, if you feel comfortable with chat, if anybody has follow-up questions, they can reach out to you. Next, I'll pass it to Courtney. Courtney Ward.
Hey y'all, thank you. So my name is Courtney. I use they, them pronouns. I am primarily going to be talking about the work that I've been doing in Alabama to combat anti-trans legislation. I will say that, of course, the same bills are being copied and pasted throughout the South. And so what I'm saying, I'm sure people in other states can sort of commiserate with. I know some states where this is happening is Arkansas, Texas, Georgia, and I'm sure there's others. But I focus on Alabama, so I'm going to be talking about what this has looked like for us in Alabama. So this has been a 3-year fight for Alabama in the legislature against this specific version of anti-trans healthcare bills. The healthcare bill we sort of have targeted as the most dangerous, and so have put the most oomph behind trying to stop it. However, there have been other anti-trans bills passed. So the anti-trans healthcare bill, specifically to tell you all what's in it in Alabama, and some variation of this is what it looks like in other states. They really are not original, and so they're going to look really similar state to state. But in Alabama, the bill creates felony charges for doctors who provide gender-affirming healthcare to trans and non-binary young people in the state age 19 years old and younger. We have a different age for youth in Alabama. So it actually affects 19 years and younger. This, for people, I've worked in abortion stuff for longer than I've worked in anti-trans stuff. For people who know about abortion bans and abortion laws, this bill targeting trans youth they're mirroring their anti-abortion bills in criminalizing doctors and criminalizing healthcare and politicizing healthcare. So I think that's important to note, that connection sort of between fights. Another part of this bill, the anti-trans healthcare bill, creates misdemeanor charges for teachers, school nurses, people who are in community support roles, if they learn of a young person's gender dysphoria and don't disclose it to their legal parent or guardian. So it's forcing community support networks basically to out trans and non-binary youth to potentially unsafe and abusive environments. Clearly, even outside of and before these horrible bills were dreamed up, trans and non-binary youth and adults experience a lot of barriers in terms of being able to exist wholly and healthily as themselves in the communities where they want to. This bill adds to the culture of state violence and transphobia, specifically by stigmatizing and politicizing gender-affirming healthcare, and literally putting life-saving care out of the hands of trans and non-binary youth, which there's already difficulty accessing. It's not as if all trans and non-binary youth have access to gender clinics that they deserve as it is. So really this is affecting families who are supportive, which is unfortunately pretty rare. This year in the 2022 legislative session, so we've been able to kill this bill the last 2 years in some really heated fights and some really heated moments in the State House. Camille, I am in solidarity with what it looks like inside of the State House with you. But this year it passed. This year, the anti-trans healthcare bill, and it's in our 3rd year trying to stop it, it passed, was signed into law by the governor. And like I said, to us, it's the most dangerous threat to young people. I'm going to go ahead and skip down to sort of what we've been doing. So there have also been other anti-trans bills targeting youth that's passed in Alabama, targeting young people, K through 12, young people who play sports who are trans and non-binary, basically forcing them to play on teams and only enter bathroom and locker room facilities that align with their sex assigned at birth, which we know can create a lot of opportunities for violence for trans youth to have to experience in their communities. So those have also passed in Alabama, but I'm focusing on the healthcare bill. It's not currently in effect, even though it's been signed by the governor, because it has a 30-day effective date. So in the meantime, we're trying to stop it by filing lawsuits. So there have been several lawsuits filed against the state of Alabama. One of them was by the ACLU. And the goal here is to get a judge to stop it from going into effect on that 30-day mark until the courts can make a decision on the constitutionality of these kinds of bills. So that's where we're at, like logistically, legally. My role, I'm lobbyist, I'm working in the state house. Most of the work that I've done the last 3 years has really been trying to stop this from even happening. So now that it's signed into law, it moves on to the lawyers to see what the lawyers can get done for us in court. Also, clearly the whole time in the background, trans and non-binary young people, elders, community support people have been protesting, have been organizing to build resilience among trans and non-binary young people, because all of this is like really triggering and difficult to deal with, the way that it's being talked about. And so lots of folks have been organizing peer support groups for trans and non-binary young people to just like grieve together, as well as support groups for parents of trans and non-binary kids. So in that way, it has started to create an infrastructure of support, and that's good. And I think that is where people can help now. It's sort of out of our hands in terms of stopping the bill. It's passed. The lawyers, we're depending on the lawyers to hopefully stop it from going into law. But what everybody else can be doing is if you do mutual aid work, and I'll drop the rest of this in the chat, but if you do mutual aid work, understand that this is happening and build in infrastructure into mutual aid work to support trans and non-binary youth and the things that they need, like clean needles, like peer support groups, and things like that.
Thank you, Courtney. We appreciate you. If you want to also drop your information in the chat, if you feel comfortable, people can reach out to you. Next, I'm going to pass it to the core coordinators of the Stay Project, FJ, Jules, and Micaiah.
Thanks, Ariana. Wonderful to be in this space with y'all this evening and hear your brilliance. My name is Jules. I use they or he pronouns, and I'm currently calling in from the land of the Shawnee and Osage in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, though I'm actually from the Greenbrier County, West Virginia, the land of the Monoton and Yuchi peoples. Yeah, along with my dear friends and coworkers and comrades, Micaiah and FJ, I'm one of the State Project co-coordinators. And the three of us are actually in the midst of a regional road trip tour, where we're connecting with and learning from and building and deepening relationships with young people across the region as we look toward our Stay Summer Institute and Black Appalachian Young and Rising gathering later this year. And through our travels so far, we've had the opportunity to briefly witness and learn about the histories and the current conditions and the beautiful solutions that our young people are building across our many places. And we've gathered an informal assessment and synthesis of what we're facing and what we're building in this time. And that's what we're going to share with y'all this evening, and we hope to share more later on. Hopefully a photo and lots of documentation coming. But yeah, we know we've only caught glimpses of a few places, but it's been striking to see the parallels across our places, as well as the distinct nature of each place. From the hills of northern Alabama to eastern Tennessee, the vast mountains of western North Carolina and southwest Virginia, to the deep hollers of southern West Virginia and eastern Kentucky, It's been striking to see how in each of our places, we've inherited histories, and we're living in those histories. We're living with scars on land, scars of industry and capitalism, scars of extraction and exploitation. We're living in organized abandonment across place and time. We're living in places that were made by and for industry and wealth accumulation. And we're living amongst monuments to the industries everywhere in rundown and abandoned plants, coal, steel, textiles, Goodyear. We're living amongst monuments to a mythical history, to the church of the empire and the industry, to slaveocracy and capitalism, to death-making institutions, to the Confederate colonial statues, monuments to policing and caging people, to the worship of Alabama Power and US Steel. We've seen mirror images of disinvested Black and poor multiracial communities, communities that have across time and place organized for and practiced care and solidarity and mutual aid amongst each other, that have held the glimmers of abundance. And we've seen this in histories of the civil rights struggle, the mine wars, militant labor organizing, and the Southern Freedom Movement. And we've seen how these communities again and again have been smothered through divestment, through economic strangulation, criminalization, and the poisoning of our environments. And in the face of it, we've seen communities that have built relationships, cared for each other, struggled and prayed and sang and organized and worshiped together toward dignity and freedom. And like Camille said, young people and our leadership and our vision and our courage and our joy has always been at the forefront. And I'll pass it to FJ to talk a little bit about the current conditions that we're seeing.
Thanks, Jules. So what we're seeing right now is infrastructure crumbling, roads and bridges and houses, to name a few things. We're seeing public housing literally being demolished and being leveled, and generations of homes are being lost and families are being displaced. We're seeing Black neighborhoods and rural land being bought and flipped at exponentially rapid paces. We're seeing development popping up everywhere. We saw luxury housing. We're seeing mansions on the ridges of mountains and industry concentrated in Black neighborhoods. We're seeing extractive economies continuing in new but familiar forms, like chicken processing plants, Amazon, tourism, the service industry, the nonprofit industrial complex, and the prison and policing complex. And to name a few, like the Wallens Ridge Prison in Big Stone Gap, Virginia, and the ICE Detention Center in Gadsden, Alabama, as well as like youth detention centers around the region. We're seeing that young people are left with no resources, opportunities, or spaces to gather and feel connection, be joyful, whole, cared for, and carefree. Instead, we're seeing that our institutions are targeting the bodies of young people, with violence being mobilized in its many forms. Criminalization, exploitation, disposability and abandonment, and policy attacks. Particularly young trans people, young Black people, and cash poor and homeless people. We see these institutions targeting our access to information and knowledge about our bodies and what our bodies deserve. They're targeting and suppressing our knowledge about all of our tangled histories of violence and organizing in the face of it, and targeting our bodies and our knowledge for the same reason they always have, as a tactic to entrench their power, maintain their wealth, and further their narrative control. And I'm going to pass it to Micaiah to talk about what we're building.
Hey y'all, I'm Micaiah, and we're out here building I'm gonna go over what we're building. Young people are still out here fighting and building and dreaming despite all these histories and legacies that we've inherited. We're out here unionizing our baristas, supporting our striking miners, organizing free stores, teaching comprehensive sex education, sharing our knowledge, skills, history, collective autonomy, and relationships and resources with one another. We're out here buying land, growing and sharing food, creating visionary art and music, creating refuge in each other, reminding each other we're worthy of so much more than the conditions that we've been handed. We're out here cultivating relationships, networks, formations, and cultures rooted in reciprocity, mutual dignity, and collective care, building a political and cultural analysis together, and building power to challenge power, making this movement irresistible in ways that center our joy and fun together, honoring our youth and showing up for each other and the world that we're tending to with our full, expressive, and beautiful selves. We're out here dreaming about and envisioning and practicing and organizing towards liberation. And we invite y'all to join our electric network of care. Please feel free to reach out to us, join a governance station, apply to be a member and be in a relationship with us. Come to some of our program and help us move resources and money to young people. And also be in relationship with young people in your community, y'all. Thanks for having us here.
Thank you, guys. That was a really great report back. If you guys want to let people know in the chat how they can reach out to you to learn more. And then I'm going to pass it to Samantha Blakely.
Hey y'all, my name is Sam Blakely. I use she, her. Y'all got my government name on there, but that's okay, that's fine. My name is Sam, and I am the membership governance organizer at Black Feminist Future. So I am going to share my screen. So Ariana, I lied. I said I didn't have a presentation, but I was like, let me pull up this presentation. So I just want to walk y'all through a little bit about who we are and what we've got going on, okay? So just to tell you a little bit about Black Feminist Future, we are a member-centered movement organization building Black feminist power for our collective liberation through political education, joyful connection, and collective care. We envision a world where Black women, girls, and gender-expansive folks are safe, valued, respected, and loved. That means a world without abortion bans. That means a world without anti-trans legislation. To achieve a Black feminist future where we're all free from the restraints of white patriarchy and other oppressive systems, BFF wants to disrupt the culture of misogynoir, and we want to advance Black feminisms. So Black feminisms is our blueprint for liberation here at Black Feminist Future. We want to build and nourish Black feminists and Black feminist leaders. We have a membership for Black women, girls, and gender expansive folks specifically. So we invite those folks in to be nourished, to be in a community, to kiki, to build and grow and build Black feminist power. And we want to also fortify aligned organizations and movements. I'm so grateful to be in this space with all of you. The work that you're doing is so crucial and it's so beautiful. And, you know, we want to be in partnership and we want to work together. We also want to shift material conditions for our people and cultural norms, right? So that means like getting rid of the culture of misogynoir and all of these things. So one of the things that we've recently done with our members is we had a charcuterie and foolery event. It was really fun. We made charcuterie boards and talked about misogynoir. And one of the things we talked about was where young people are experiencing misogynoir, and it's so young, right? It's so young, like misogynoir and misogyny. It starts at an early age. So, you know, this is an issue that affects young people as well as older people. And we've just been recently been talking about that. So what we decided to do was we want to pull up on misogynoir, y'all. So we're going to have an event. It's going to be in Atlanta in person. There's going to be like a cap for safety and all of that. But there's also going to be virtual components to it as well. So we're going to stream it on our Facebook and our YouTube. So hopefully y'all can join us. And it's kind of like, why are we doing this, right? So again, we're just seeing more and more attacks on Black women, girls, gender expansive folks. And we just really want to disrupt the bullshit, to be really, really honest with y'all. It's misogynoir, it's deadly, right? And we want to learn how we can all squad up, whether you're a Black feminist, whether you're an ally, whether you're a comrade, anything like that. So we want to invite people out to that. Yeah, and it's going to be an awesome space. We want to network and challenge and learn. A lot of young folks will be able to be there and be in community with each other. So we're really excited about that. It's just been too long, y'all. Like, again, we are still in a panini, so we don't want to pretend like, hey, like everything's good. We want to be safe. We want to take care of each other. But yes, I miss being out with people and just like talking about this stuff. It's really invigorating. So this is just information. Again, I can drop this, I can send it to Ariana, or I can drop it just like it's going to be on Friday, May the 20th. So hopefully y'all can join us for that. We also hope any Black women, girls, or Black gender expansive folks who are on this call, please get with me. I'll drop my information. Please become a member, right? We want to be in community together, because once we are free, once all of us are free, once we have reached liberation, everybody else will be liberated. So we encourage you to do that. These are other ways you can get involved. You can attend the summit, sponsor the summit, share the summit, tell all your friends. Even if you can't come, tell all your friends. We really want folks to be in conversation with us. So now I'm going to switch gears. I know I'm talking a lot here, got my timer on. So another thing that we're doing here at Black Feminist Future is we started a campaign to bring Brittany home. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with what's going on with Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner is a young WNBA player who was detained in Russia in a Moscow airport. So one of the things that we see as Black feminists is that if this were LeBron, like this wouldn't even be happening. So, right. So again, like there's so much in this, like the gender pay gap, why Brittany was there in the first place. So she's been detained, and we just want to know, well, first we want her home, and we want to know, like, why are US officials waiting? So we're going to be putting pressure on them. These are some actions. This right here is our campaign page. So, and it kind of tells you a little bit about the case. So please, let your folks know, and you yourself sign our petition. Like urge our officials to meet our demands, which are down here on the page, so we can bring Brittany home. Also join our mailing list so you can see what's going on. We also have some cool little, like we have some toolkits and like media things. So really, really cool. We hope that people can get involved. And just again, these are issues that young people face, right? Like decriminalizing marijuana. Like this is something that should have happened a long time ago, but here we are, right? So I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Yeah, about that live. Yes. Just seeing if y'all have any questions. But yeah, I'm again really thankful to be here in this space with y'all, and I can't wait to give y'all more information. And for those of y'all who are in Atlanta, we got a lot of Alabama people on the call, which I'm so happy about. But for those of y'all who are in Atlanta, link up. Let's meet up for breakfast. I love food. I love drinks. So thank you again. And young people, we are the future. The ancestors have given us the path. We just got to follow it and keep making it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sam. That was great to hear about the stuff that y'all are working on. And last but not least, I'm going to pass it to Shaylin Clark.
The conversation between all of us. We have some dynamic women that are here.
Hey, y'all. I'm happy to be here. I'm calling in from Eastern Kentucky. I'm from Harlan County, Kentucky. And I'm representing Sexy Sex Ed. I am my official title is head mistress of Sexy Sex Ed. So Sexy Sex Ed was an organization started by young people for young people in rural Appalachia who felt like they desperately needed sexual education resources that were not abstinent only based, rooted in shame. Since 1995, there's been a concentrated decline in access to formal sexual education in rural areas, particularly in the South, where there's higher rates of sexual activity and lower rates of contraceptive use than in other regions of the country. This has shown that when young people, in particular, children and teenagers have access to comprehensive sexual education, it lowers instances of child abuse, intimate partner violence, STIs, and homophobic bullying, and increases willingness to report intimate partner violence. So Sexy Sex Ed was started in 2012, and it was actually started at a Stay Summer Institute event. And it's been going strong since then. Very proud to be a part of this. And so the types of course, we live in rural South, so there's going to be pushbacks when it comes to people talking about their bodies. But the way that we teach sexual education is to all bodies and all ages. And so we understand that like sex isn't just a hetero thing, and it's not just sex that you do with someone else. And so we focus on pleasure and liberation and teaching people all ages about their bodies and how to go about their sexual relationships in a very safe and respective manner. We also teach consent, both personal and political. And I forgot to start my timer, so like someone just let me know. Both personal and political consent. And so all these are important because like we've all seen happening around the country, the access to knowledge about our bodies, the access to healthcare when it comes to our bodies and our personal relationships with our bodies, those are all being limited and attacked in a lot of different ways. So recently on March the 8th, Sexy Sex Ed was attacked in a pretty big way. On a national scale, there was from the heart of right-wing politics and information, we were attacked by some journalists that put some pretty nasty things about us on their Twitter. And like we know what they like to say. They call us pedophiles and all these other things. And that's hit us in a pretty hard way. It's actually spread. A lot of the people on our team were doxxed. We've gotten, the death threats and people's jobs were contacted. And as a result of this, we also just lost our fiscal sponsor. So now we are in a very deep rut. And so we're trying to find new fiscal sponsorship, and we're also trying to find our way out of the situation. I got into this position in 2021, and I've never dealt with an attack on this scale, which makes me really happy to be in a room with you all because it's bringing a lot of clarity and light to the situation. And I also feel like we're not so alone. This is not an isolated attack, but it can feel very isolating to be attacked in this manner. And so this attack was not an accident. It was very well thought out and planned out by Christopher F. Rufio, who began the tweet about Sexy Sex Ed in a summer camp that we held last year. And so the summer camp was virtual. And along with the work that we do, it's not just like workshops and things. Although we do a lot of workshops, we also send out care packages to people across the region. And so we send emergency contraceptives, we send contraceptives, both internal and external, and also information about people's bodies and ways that they can keep themselves safe, whether that's being birth control or a map to a clinic near you that can get you the help that you need. So those are a lot of the things that we do. Recently, the Kentucky banned abortion, and a lot of the ways that you all have seen in the places that you're in, they restricted access to how early somebody can get an abortion, but along with that, they snuck in that doctors who perform abortions can also be charged. Just like Courtney said, this is almost a mirroring of other bills that are passing across the country. So along with that, things that we are building, we are just right now in this moment, we are trying to build back our team and who we are and just get grounded in the work that we do and remind ourselves that the work that we do is important and it's needed and it's something that we have to push forward with. Because like I said before, it's very easy to feel isolated, especially when a lot of us have never been in a situation where we're getting death threats every day or having our parents' obituaries sent to us with nasty messages and things of that sort. So what this whole situation has taught us really is there are a lot of good people in this world who do good things, but there are also a lot of people in this world who really want to do the right thing, but whenever fascism comes like knocking at their door, maybe sometimes they'll close the door and leave you on the outside. And so that's just another form of isolation that we are seeing right now in our current situation. And so our team is of 12 educators, are mostly made up of queer people, if not 100% made up of queer people. I want to say thanks to the Stay Project because a lot of them stepped in and helped us out whenever this attack first jumped off. The day the attack jumped off, the very next day I was going in for surgery. So I was out of it for about a month, and Stay Project really stepped in and stepped up and really like put us in a good position for me to come back, and I'm very thankful for them. So right now, the way that young people can get engaged is kind of hard for us to plan forward with the amount of threats that we're under. If anything that I want to get from this conversation and being in a space with you all is connection and maybe guidance of how you've all made it through the situation. Because it's hard and it's the first time dealing with it. So I would love that. Along with sending care packages and providing this information, we've been doing this since 2012, and it only seems like it's getting harder. There's a lot of pushback that you all know about, but also it's how do you move forward and how do you be out there and be in rooms and be in the communities knowing that there's so much negativity and danger in those spaces. And so how you can help Sexy Sex Ed, how you can help young people on the front lines that are trying to get this life-saving, vital information out to other people in the communities. Our educators are all educators who grew up in rural parts of Appalachia. And so we're serving the communities that we know and that we love and that we're from, and we all know what it looks like to grow up in those areas without having this information. And we all made a collective decision to decide that this is not how we want the future generation to grow up. We want to make a change. We want to educate and do better. And so I'm not sure if my time is up yet, but that is all I have. If anybody wants to reach out, I can add more information in the chat. I would say email our Sexy Sex Ed email, but that's kind of like it's not a good place right now. And so I'll leave my personal email in the chat. And so feel free to reach out to me, connect with me, and even share some tips, tricks, and guidance, or just like laugh with me and have fun with me during these dark times. That's something that we all need, is to be a light for each other. So thank y'all for having me here.
Thank you, Shaylin, and thank you to all of our guests. I really enjoyed you all's presentations. That was really great information, and we appreciate you all so much for coming in and sharing with us today. Jennifer, did you notice any questions in the chat that we wanted to uplift for our guests, or if there were one or two questions? I want to make a little bit of time for that.
Yeah, there was one question for Courtney about any targeted attacks on youth. Let me see if I can. About the anti-trans legislation. Let's see. My apologies. Scrolling through. Have the youth here experienced violence as you fight for the rights of young people? So I guess it could apply to to any of the speakers here, and for those that have already shared, it's certainly just the example that Shaylin shared is an example of one way that is. But if anybody else wants to answer this question.
In Alabama, we had, so most of the people who were protesting in 2020, with the exception of a few old folks like myself, were youth. And several of the chief organizers have felonies. So, like felonies. So, a lot of times people are like, oh, felony, but that means your life. And they're still fighting those felonies. So those are pretty vicious attacks on their lives. And they're Black women.
Camille, is there anything that we can do to support these women in their fight for, the felonies? What can we do?
They have attorneys. I think that's the answer to everything right now.
Right.
They have attorneys. I know Project Say Something does a lot to just do self-care support, and just we're in coalition together, fighting bills together still, but those felonies still exist, which is why we were fighting the anti-protest legislation so hard. Because youth, y'all don't stop. When old folks, we go home. Y'all stay out there. And so.
Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else want to respond?
Can I mention too, just specifically in terms of the anti-trans legislation, even when I was growing up, I don't know if there was like as much happening in the policy world that was directed at trans young people, but there's always been transphobia in communities and in schools, that makes it difficult for trans and non-binary young people to just exist. However, I will say in Alabama, since this has been our last 3 years in Alabama, have been talking about these bills, which means more people are talking about transness, more people are talking about young trans people. And so I think that it's been really difficult to navigate that. I think it's sort of increased a target on trans and non-binary young people in Alabama. I know I have friends who are school teachers at like high schools who have been fired for being supportive of trans folks and trying to speak up for trans students at their schools. And they have said that, yeah, there's just like an increase of attention on it, an increase of people talking about it. And so it sort of increases the target that has always already been there. And it just makes it really difficult. And so through fighting this, we have to like balance protecting our young people who testify, protecting our young people who talk to media. And thankfully, like I have the experience and many of us have the experience of doing abortion work, which we have security systems. Like we have had to learn like how to have these systems in place. And so thankfully, I think we've been able to like transfer a lot of that to this, and that has been really helpful. And Shaylin, just for you, like I would say, talk to abortion folks. Abortion folks know how to do security and take care of themselves. But yeah, I definitely think that this has caused an increase, not only institutional violence, because these are new laws, but interpersonal violence for young people in Alabama, and also I'm sure throughout the South and other states.
Yeah, just to jump in on that also, I think it's just important to name like Chris Rufo like works for the Manhattan Institute, and this is a strategy of their work. They're funded by the Koch brothers. They're funded by the Harry Bradley Foundation, who Harry Bradley was like a founder of the John Birch Society. This is a strategy of theirs to create violence towards trans youth right now. Like that's their main strategy. And we see it in connection with like the white supremacist militia groups. We see that that's the same groups who are the anti-abortion militia groups, and these like pedophile poachers is what they're advertising as them for now. Like, yeah, and it's all a coordinated strategy of these Koch-funded think tanks who have such a grip on our media.
Thank you for that. Thank you both. And if no one else, I'll turn it back over to our host, Ariana.
Thank you, Jennifer. Again, thank you to our guests for this evening. I always forget to introduce myself. I don't think I ever did. So I'm Ariana. I'm an organizer with the SMA, and I'm down in Mobile, Alabama. One way that the SMA is committed to supporting youth on the ground is by equipping them with training skills and resources, educating on movement history and strategy, and making connections. On the road to SMA 10, we will be supporting people's movement assemblies across the South who will delegate representatives to attend our annual gathering. So save the date for our virtual organizing intensive. It's scheduled for June the 11th through the 12th to come and learn and to see and learn how to organize a people's movement assembly and strategize and skill up with your community. And we will use the organizing intensive to support organizers to learn skills specific to organizing PMAs, including facilitation, synthesis, decision-making, political education, and fundamental organizing skills. So make sure to join us for our next month's membership call where we'll be discussing more about the history of PMAs and why they are such a powerful practice. In addition to these regular events, we also hope to continue creating activities and events that add value and establish deeper relations among our members. Last month, we also introduced a new healing call that we will hold on the second Wednesday of each month, because we want to integrate and exemplify a culture of healing, especially with all of the issues and the attacks and things that our members are dealing with on the front lines. We've created this space for intentional practice of liberation and community care. So we invite you all to come and let us hug on you, and you can hug us back, and we can just love on each other and uplift each other in the fights that we are facing. So we want to encourage everyone, if you have not already, to check out our website, become a member, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We also have a Discord where you can connect and continue these conversations and connect with other members. Join us on our Discord channel. Sign up to join a work team if you are as invigorated about this work as we are, and you want to connect with us to continue connecting people across the South and building our shared action. Click the link in the chat to join one of our 3 work teams. And then also register for the events that we have coming up in May. I mentioned the healing call, which will be on the 11th. And then our next general membership assembly call, which will be on the 25th. And then also remember to register and save the date for the virtual organizing intensive June the 11th through 12th. And our SMA 10, which will be in September. And with that, I want to thank our tech team, the interpreters, our facilitators, members, guests, and all the participants tonight, and have a great evening.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank y'all so much. Thank you
Bye,
to
y'all.
our
Thank
young people and presenters tonight. It was so amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for everything.
Thank y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Jess. No, William left already. Thank y'all. Sending so much love.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just about to send you a message, Ayan. I was like, do we need to stay on, or do you want to just end the call, or?